All right, what is up, everybody? In today's video, we're going to be talking about done for you funding. So, we're going to be talking about all the benefits of it, how it all works, and see if this is a good fit for you guys. But really, the three biggest things when people are going to look towards done for you funding options is these three key main things, right? Number one is people want to eliminate the guesswork. They don't want to have these costly mistakes that's going to cost them tons in funding on the back end. They want to get results fast, and for obvious reasons too, this is the cheapest money you guys will ever find. So as far as eliminating the guesswork and limiting the costly mistakes, right? Funding is tricky. A lot of people have this misconception. They think, hey, if I have a good credit score and profile, that means I'm just going to rip 25, 40, 50K cards per card per bank without having to provide any documents or anything. And I'll tell you right now, it's not that simple. There's definitely rules to the game that you need to understand, and you want to get your applications done correctly the first round, or it can hold you back severely on following funding rounds, right? If you go out and apply, you think you know what you're doing, you only get approved for, let's say, a 5K card, and you try applying for another card with that same bank, odds are they're going to give you another limit around that limit as before. Versus if you get a 50K, then the next card is going to be around that same threshold, right? Now, as far as speed to funding results, like a lot of people, you might not have the time to learn all of this. And on top of that, you might be rather wanting to focus on the actual business activities that are going to bring the money, like the main business activities that's going to actually bring you guys money to your business. And this is the fastest way to get funding than spending months that it would take for you to actually go out and learn it on your own, right? And then again, this is the cheapest money you guys are going to find. You will not be able to find something cheaper than 0%. This is almost like free money. Obviously, you still got to pay it back, and we'll kind of get into that. But no interest means you can't beat it, right? And what all this does is by having this funding now, you will be able to start building your financial future and getting your business started and getting it scaled without having to waste time or money on high interest debt. So here's what we're going to cover today is who is this for? Who is this not for? This isn't for everybody, right? And then from there, we'll talk about different funding methods that you can use and how you can combine this 0% funding tool with those other funding methods. And we'll kind of talk about some of the drawbacks there. And then 3, we'll talk about how you guys can actually get the 0% funding through the 0% funding formula process. We'll talk a little bit about us, and I'll give you guys some realistic case studies we've done for clients and give you guys some expectations and timelines on how soon the whole process looks like to actually get funded. So let's start with this, guys. Who is this for and who is this not for, right? So 2 key people that look for done for you funding is you've got new business owners who are looking to start a new business, or they're looking to invest, or number 2, you got current business owners looking to scale their current business or investments. So personally for me, the thing these 2 types of people have in common are both are confident and have chosen a financial vehicle to invest their time, money, and effort to learn that skill, or at least willing to test different business models, and they have the drive to actually learn new skills, and they're going to grow this, right? And as far as me, like when I started off as a new business owner doing Airbnb arbitrage, right, I was kind of sitting there, I'm like, okay, I know this business model can make money. I'm seeing people do it online. I got friends who are doing it, but at the same time, I just don't have, the 10, 20, 30K to get started, right? I knew something could make me money, but I just didn't have the startup capital. So if that's you, then this would definitely be able to help kickstart your business. And it got to a point where, okay, I got the first unit. I saw that it's making a profit. I was calculating, it might take 6 to 9 months for me to get the ROI. Why not, if I know that money is going to come within 6 to 9 months, why not get more 0% funding to get more units so I can make more money now? And that's what I did. As a current business owner, I started from one Airbnb, and I was able to get literally a new Airbnb, a new one once a month for the next 7 months. And I was only able to do that because I was able to get 0% business credit capital. And the cool thing with this is at the time starting this Airbnb business, I literally, my LLC was like a month and a half old. My personal income at the time, I was only making 2K a month, still living at my parents' house, didn't have any business revenue. But because we knew the systems and processes and the rules to the game, I was still able to get approved for all that funding without providing any bank statements, tax documents, or anything like that, because it was a no doc check. And I was able to get approved for a 25 and a 50K card in a matter of weeks of each other. And that could be you guys too. Now, as far as this, a lot of people, they have the business idea, they want to go after it, they just don't have the money. And personally for me, I knew I was not meant to be working a shitty 9-to-5 corporate job. I knew I didn't want to be trading hours for dollars doing something I hated. And I knew I didn't want to be only able to get 10 days off a year and ask permission to do what I want. And for me, I didn't know exactly what I would be doing, but one thing was true, right? I knew it had to be better than what I was doing now. And I knew I wanted financial freedom. I knew I wanted to be a provider. I knew I wanted to build a family legacy. And I knew whatever I was going to start required capital. So I realized this is such an important skill and thing to figure out first. So whether you already have a business or you're still deciding on what you want to learn and how you're going to make money, learn how to get the capital first so you can actually take action on those dreams, right? You're literally one idea away from completely changing your life, and it all starts with figuring out the funding and the capital first. Now, let's talk about who this isn't for. So, if you're a person who's irresponsible with finances, like, please do not start looking into investing. Like, figure your base first of, how do I be more responsible, right? I've had people that I've seen where they'll get all this funding and they'll go out and buy like a purse or something. At the end of the day, this isn't free money. Yes, it's 0%, but it does have a time limit, right? You still have to pay it back before it gets to the interest rate. And the last thing I want to do is get somebody 100K and they blow it out on a Tesla and they're not making any money off of it, right? You need to make sure you're responsible with it. And the other type of person too is, this isn't for people who have a below a 700 credit score yet. Keyword here is yet though, right? Credit profile and score is kind of what gets your foot in the door. And understanding the bank underwriting requirements, connections to high-level bankers, having the scripts, the data points, that's everything else you need. So if you're not at above 700 credit score just yet, then comment the word optimize and we'll send you a guide on the quickest way to boost your credit profile and score. So if you're not there, again, focus on optimizing and then, you'll handle all the other underwriting requirements next. So now that we know who this is for and who this isn't for, let's talk about the other funding methods, right? And again, before I get into this, there's nothing wrong with these different methods. I've used all of them myself, but my motto is the more money / funding options that are readily available to you, the more opportunity you have to take action, right? If someone were to offer you, a house on the beach in LA for 100K, right? You wouldn't say, oh no, I got to think about it or whatever, or, I just don't have the money or whatever. You'd figure out how to get that money together as soon as possible because you could resell that property for like $1 million. So don't let capital be the thing holding you back from missed out on opportunities. So let's go over kind of these 4 key main ones. Is you got high interest rate loans, savings, liquidated assets, equity. Again, I've used every single one of these. There's nothing wrong with it. But when it comes to high interest rate loans is, many investors use loans with high interest, like private money, hard money, whatever it is. And yes, it gets you into the deals now, but it does eat away at your profits, right? Those interest rates are like 12 to 15%, whatever, versus if you're using 0% funding, that's an additional 12 to 15% you could keep of your own money and reinvest it back into the business. So that's money, more money in your guys' pocket. Now, a second thing is savings, right? The average American like literally only has like $8,000 in savings. If we're talking about real estate or really any business model, it's probably going to require a lot more than that. And even if you do have a ton of savings, savings will only get you guys so far. You could have your life savings. It'll take you literally your whole life. And it takes forever to accrue a substantial amount to actually do anything with it. And you spend your whole life saving, and you can literally spend it all in one day on one investment. Now you're asset rich and cash poor, and it will leave you, with no liquidity. And now you can't invest into other deals, right? The other thing too is liquidating assets. I actually, I'll tell you guys this quick story, but liquidating assets, like, a lot of people will think like, oh, if I want to invest in this other property or this other business, I got to sell like my house or all these other assets. You don't always have to do that, right? In my early entrepreneurship days, I remember I invested in Amazon automation store. Spoiler alert, that was an absolute scam. I just straight up lost 25 grand. That fucking sucked. But that's for another story. But just to kind of give you guys an idea of that liquidating assets is, I sold a bunch of crypto. This is before I learned about 0% funding. I sold a bunch of crypto for that Amazon automation store, right? And later that year, crypto went up like 20K. So what had happened is, not only did I lose the 25K because it was a scam, but also since I traded one asset for another, that asset could have kept growing an additional 20K. So I lost out on the potential gains that I could have had if I hadn't just let it keep growing. If I was able to have 0% funding to fund that and just let this crypto or whatever asset you have keep growing, then I would have been that much richer, right? So if you don't have an asset that's appreciating or cash flowing, you don't need to sell it. You can literally have your cake and eat it too. So this, it's not a bad thing, but there is a better way of kind of funding those deals. The other thing too is equity, right? You could raise money by giving up equity in your business. But personally for me, if I'm pouring my blood, sweat, and tears over a project, then no thank you. Like I want as much of the pie as possible. I don't want to be giving it up just because somebody's giving me cash and they're just kind of like sitting back. But it's not necessarily a bad thing, yeah. Now, let's talk about an even more superior way for funding your deals. And again, there's nothing wrong with those other ones I talked about, but 0% funding, you could use this in tandem with all those other funding options to help you get even more opportunity on your guys' plate. But with 0% funding, this is the best, cheapest, fastest, low risk option, right? You can literally get approved for 100K plus 0% funding with no doc checks. That means you can have a new LLC. You don't have to have income. You don't have to have business revenue. You just have to know the ins and outs of the funding game. Because again, with the no doc check, they aren't asking for bank statements, tax documents, or anything to verify that income. They're based off of estimated incomes and revenues, right? Now, personally for me, again, I mentioned to you guys when I started that Airbnb business, I was still living at my parents' house making $2K a month in California. That's like nothing. And I was still able to get 75K in a matter of weeks, So that just kind of goes to show you guys, if you know the rules of the game, then yes, you can get the funding. Now, the other thing too is you're able to extend these 0% terms for multiple years, right? The more time you have with 0%, the less risk you have because you have more time to pay it back and get your ROI. The way we extend these 0% terms is you could refinance. If a 0% card is about to end, you can refinance it onto another 0% card and essentially buy yourself an extra 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever of extra time to be able to pay back those cards. So now you have different exit strategies and more time to pay back the cards. The other big thing too is, you're able to stop losing out on deals and get into deals without using any of your own money, right? What we've seen and what I've done too is, we'll use the 0% funding for like the down payment, the labor, the materials, any other startup costs. and fund the rest through hard money, private money lending, conventional lending, whatever it is, to be able to fund the rest of the deal. So by doing that, literally no money out of pocket, and that allows us, if another opportunity comes up, we have even more funding to get into another deal. So tons and tons of benefits with using 0% funding. Now that we know the benefits of that, I want to talk to you guys about what you guys are probably most interested in is, okay, how the hell do we actually get the funding, right? So let's get into it. This is what the process looks like. You guys take notes on this, but there's two key main things. We need to show the banks that, hey, you're a trustworthy borrower and your business looks attractive enough to lend to. So step one, custom credit analysis, credit score, credit profile optimization. Step two, business profile and underwriting optimization. And three, getting connections to senior level VP relationship managers. And then step four is the application approval. So let me dive a little deeper into what that looks like. So I mentioned earlier, the two things banks care about is they just want to know you're trustworthy as a borrower. And then the second thing is that your business looks attractive enough to lend to. We'll start off with point one is you want to have an optimized credit score, right? Really what that looks like is a 720 plus and you're good to go. But it's not just the credit score, it's also your credit profile, right? And what an optimized credit profile looks like is you want to have at least 3 personal credit cards with an average of 10K limit each. And you don't want to have more than 20% utilization on each credit card. I know a lot of people say 30%. That's okay too, but if we want to maximize everything, I'd say 20% is even better. We don't want to have any negatives on our credit profile, or at the very least, we don't want to have any within the last 2 years. You could still get funded. It might not be the most, but you could still get funded even if you have those negatives. But preferably, we don't want any. If you do, then we could get those removed through credit repair, but that's a different discussion. And then we want an average credit age of 2 years, no more than 3 hard inquiries within the last 6 months. And that's kind of the basic stuff. But if you're struggling with any of these, comment the word optimize and we'll send that free guide to you guys. You have credit repair, you could get that removed. You could go through authorized users to get the credit age boosted. We could walk you guys through on how to remove hard inquiries. But something super important to remember is this only gets your foot in the door to at least be considered by the banks. Without the other processes of, knowing what their underwriting requirements are, how to show the banks your business is attractive enough to lend to, then you could still get denied or get low limits. Like I had a client with an 840 credit score and she only got approved for 5K. That just goes to show you it's not just the credit. That's what's most important, Cool. So here's the other big thing that banks care about is they want to make sure your business is attractive enough to lend to, right? It's super important we make a great first impression because, people will try to go out and apply on their own and it screws them over because they end up going out and applying. They either get denied or get these low limits. And as I mentioned before, if you go out and your first impression is you show the banks that you're only worth 5K and you try to apply for another card shortly after, odds are they're going to give you another limit in line with that. So we want to set the tone, get the high limit from the very beginning so that we can just keep getting those same limits and higher moving forward. The other big thing too is there's only so many business credit cards out there that you want to maximize every single one. Anyone could go out and apply for funding and get approved, but it's another to get high limits, right? Like if your goal is to get 100K in funding and you don't really know what you're doing, you could probably get that, but that's going to be between 20 cards and that leaves you with like less cards to be able to apply for later versus we could get that same 100K literally using just 2 to 3 cards. And that allows you to have 17 other cards you could apply for later. So just things to think about when it comes to applying for funding. But the big steps to showing them that we're attractive enough to lend to is the business profile and bank underwriting requirements. Our job is to check off each of those boxes on that checklist. The number 2 is scripts and data points. We know the exact word for word scripts of what the banks want to hear, and we have the exact copy and paste data points of how to fill out the applications. Now, the other thing with this too is when it comes to the data points, they base their decisions off of estimated incomes and business revenues, right? So, we always recommend to be optimistic with those numbers. We want the best for our business, but we also don't want to overstate anything too much, because if you do, then the banks will red flag your account. They'll do what's called a doc check, and they're going to ask for bank statements and tax documents. And if you can't prove it, now they're not going to want to work with you. Now, the major key thing that is super helpful is our connections to senior level VP relationship managers. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And think of these guys as kind of like the gatekeeper middleman between you and underwriting. And they're going to help vouch for you to help get you the maximum funding, because they actually get paid a commission from the banks based off of how much you get approved for. So it's in their best interest to get you the funding. However, the only way to work with them is you need to know what their underwriting requirements are beforehand here to be able to pre-qualify, and you need to have somebody like us connect you directly to them. That's where we come in. A lot of people, they'll try to apply on their own, and they'll just apply online, and their application just goes through a computer algorithm, and they end up getting denied or getting those low limits. But you follow this process, and that's what's going to lead us to application approvals. All right, so let's talk about timelines and expectations. So as far as the done for you funding process, this is what it's going to look like, right? Within the first day or two, this is all going to be onboarding. So this is where we get your 3 credit bureau report. We do our credit analysis to make sure you even qualify. We'll send over the agreements, those get signed, and then from there, we'll get you on the onboarding form where you send in over your business and personal information so we can get the ball rolling. Shouldn't take more than a day or 2 at max. The next step is optimization period. So as I mentioned earlier, right, we want to optimize the credit score, credit profile, business credit profile, underwriting requirements. So this is all going to happen here. This varies file to file. It could take anywhere between 2 to 60 days. Normally, if you are qualified, this shouldn't take us more than, 5 to 7 days, I would say. A lot of these numbers I'm going to give you is I like giving people a longer timeline just so we could kind of under promise and over deliver. But the reason why we say 60 days is, if you have like late payments, collections, or something that needs to get removed, then that's where this process is going to take. If we're just meeting the bank underwriting requirements, doing minor things to optimize the credit score, credit profile, then literally this should only take us 2 days, no more than a week. Now, at that point, we get connected to the senior level VP relationship managers. Normally this gets all handled within the first day or 2. Again, just giving you a little bit more time so we could under promise, over deliver. And then at that point, applications are done, and then we receive the funding. So once we get approved, that's pretty instant. As far as receiving the funds, usually that takes, a couple days. It could take 5 to 10 business days. So all in all, if you're the ideal candidate, then normally it only takes 2 to 4 weeks to get the whole process done. So that's why it's very important, if you need funding, to plan ahead. If you don't need the funding for, 60 or 90 days, it's always good to at least get the process started now. That way we could get everything set up. And then once you are ready to pull the trigger, we could just immediately go after it. But that's what to expect as far as timelines. As far as the offer, right, the dream outcome here is we want to get you as much funding as possible so you could get into these deals with as little cash of your own as possible. This does come with a guarantee. We don't get paid unless you guys get paid, right? We don't charge any money up front. We only get paid after you see results. And as far as time delay, we already gave you those expectations. As far as effort and sacrifice, this is super fast funding. We're going to set up those proper expectations. Like I said, our whole goal is to under promise, over deliver. We believe in transparency and just setting up expectations. And we want to be able to over exceed what we were expecting originally. So yeah, that's how we get our fast, streamlined funding. And as far as about us, we specialize in creative financing solutions. Our mission is simple, is to help you guys build wealth through real estate with as minimal of your own front capital as possible. And we don't just stop with just the 0% funding. That is our core focus, but we will connect you with our hard money, private money lending, any other type of real estate lending that you guys need, we could get you connected with those other partners. That way you could truly get into these deals with no money out of pocket. And then on top of that, within our community, we do offer resources for investing in real estate if you guys need help with that. But here are some case studies we've had with past clients. Ian Wyman, we got him 75K literally in just 2 weeks. He was doing Airbnb arbitrage. He started out with 3 units, only making 12K a month. And then through this funding we got him to 9 units, and that was producing 50K a month. This was a while back. Now he's actually investing in hotels, has more properties. Like it's crazy. This literally ignited the flame and helped him blow up. Here's Kyle. He was new to fix and flips, but we were able to get him 165K literally in 6 weeks. And that's what he used for the 10 to 20% down for the 3 different flip properties that he used. So that helped him scale super quick. Anton, literally just on one card, 69K, absolutely epic. Used that to get into fix and flips. And then Sonny, got 60K on one card, used that for Airbnb. Jera, they got 40K and boom, use that for buy and hold. So tons of different applications. Again, you could use this for down payments, labor, material, any sort of holding costs, like literally anything that requires money, we could do it for you guys because it's going to require funding. If it requires cash, we could always liquidate the cards and pull the cash from the cards without paying that cash advance fee. But that's basically it, guys. So appreciate you guys lending your eyes, ears, and attention. If you guys have a 700 plus credit score and you're ready to start or scale your business, then reach out to our team and book a call now, and we'll see if we can help you guys out. This is us, but as usual, peace out, much love, stay beautiful, and we will see you guys in the next one. Peace.